Hey, what's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to the Domesticated Dude podcast. I'm Logan, your host on this journey. This is the last episode of 2020. What a crazy year this has been. I think this year has taught us a lot of lessons about what we couldn't do, but I think it was just as important for us to learn about what we do have in our lives and to be thankful for that. I know a lot of us have taken a lot of things for granted, like spending time with friends and loved ones, but I think that's helped us focus on ourselves a little bit more than usual. And it's helped us work on projects around the house. Or in my case, it's helped me launch a podcast and start a hobby that I've been wanting to do and just never really had the time to do it. I want to thank you for all of your support in the podcast this year. It's been amazing knowing that you're listening and getting some value from it. Before Christmas, I spent some time talking with my friend Graham, who I met in Reno 14 years ago through fantasy football. I was in Reno for less than a year, but I made some close friendships there, and Graham is one of those guys. Graham and his wife Ashley live in Reno with their 2 kids, and one of the biggest things that came out of our talk is that Graham always chooses to be happy. Even if things aren't going his way, especially when he tried to find a job after graduating college, it took him a while to get into his career, but he always chose to look on the bright side of things, and that's made him a more positive person. I think that's a great lesson for all of us to think about as we get ready to take on the new year. No matter how difficult things appear to be, you still have the power to stay positive. You still have the power to change your mindset and to look on the bright side of things. I think that's something that we're all going to need going into 2021. As always, if you like what you hear, share it with a friend, leave us a review, and make sure to subscribe so you get the newest episodes immediately. Without further ado, here's my conversation with my friend Graham. I hope you enjoy. Hey Graham, it's good to see you, man. How you doing?
Good, Logan. Always good to see you, buddy.
I know, man. It's been a while.
Been too long.
It's crazy because we met each other like 14 years ago, and just recently we started FaceTiming and doing this video call stuff.
Yeah, I don't know what took us so long, but yeah, I mean, you're definitely good people. So I'll do these calls anytime you want.
I appreciate that, man. Thanks for coming on and spending some time with me today.
Yeah, appreciate it.
So we met about, like I said, 14 years ago in Reno, Nevada. I was going to school there, just moved down there from Alaska. And my roommate, Brittany, her brother-in-law, Craig, and you were really good friends and got in with you guys playing fantasy football. What was that like for you guys to have some random guy from Alaska come through in August and be like, yep, all right, well, we need a guy for fantasy football, so we should probably ask him to play with us?
That was Troy's league. So one of our good buddies, Troy Edler, he put it all together. So I don't know. I probably felt like more of an outsider than you did, but because I didn't really know Troy all that well at the time either. So yeah, so it was kind of cool. But I'm glad he did it, and here we are.
Yeah, man. I keep thinking about it. 14 years. That's a long time to be doing one thing with a group of people. We've changed people throughout the league over the years, and we've changed leagues throughout the years, but I feel like our core is still the same, and that's pretty rare, I would think, in fantasy football. I'm in a couple different leagues, and so are you. So to be able to have that longevity, that's really neat.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, it's kind of funny, and my wife makes fun of me for being a nerd about it, but it's a way to bring us together and keep us communicating. And I don't know, in the off season we don't really communicate all that much, so maybe we need to find another way to connect. But I'm all down for your idea that you keep pushing to do another in-person draft, get everybody together. We're spread out all throughout the country. We got guys in Florida, Tennessee, Nebraska, Nevada, so we got guys all over the place. So it'd be nice to bring everybody together.
That would be amazing. How's that pot of money coming that you're trying to grow for that thing?
It's coming along, not as well as I would have hoped. I thought I had like any wise gambler, I thought I had a system, but it's not working out quite so well.
It's because you kept betting on Nebraska.
Yeah, man, I was using you as my insider, and you couldn't tell me when they were going to win. So, I mean, hey, we lost money.
Well, I can tell you when they're not going to win, and that's pretty much, well, At least before. Now their basketball team's getting a little bit better. They're showing some signs of life. But I would never bet any money on the football team. I'm
I'll keep
sorry.
that in mind.
I'm sorry I let you down so much.
I know, man, you're killing me here. I keep thinking about that though, honestly. I mean, that's something that comes in my mind all the time. I would like to be able to somehow parlay that our pot there into a big giant pot and just say, all right, everybody, here's some, airfare, bring your family. I'm getting rooms for us all. Let's do this. Spend a nice long weekend together.
That would be amazing, man. One of us needs to win the lottery, I think, for that to happen.
Seriously, yeah.
But it's been cool to see our group of friends in this league kind of grow up together. We were all in school at the same time, and now a lot of us have families, we're married. So that's been really neat to kind of see, at least from my perspective, from an outsider's view. We keep in touch on social media and through text and stuff, but it's the same story everywhere. Everybody's kind of got their own stuff going on, but this is the one thing that we can rally around and have in common.
Right. Yeah. I know. I mean, again, my I get made fun of for being nerdy about it, but seriously, it's like the one thing that's still linking us all together because yeah, we're all spread out all across the country. We've all got our own lives, wives, kids, whatever, and it's hard to make time for certain things sometimes. So, the fact that we're all really into fantasy football and we keep coming back every year despite how bad we do. It's good. It's good that we maintain that link. So I'm happy to keep it. I'm happy to keep it going as long as everybody else does. But if football ever dies off, like it's kind of on that trajectory, or if fantasy just kind of people get bored of it or whatever, we got to find something else. I don't know what it's going to be, but we got to find something.
I'm sure we can. I mean, I don't know if I've talked to you about this, but sometimes my wife and I fill out brackets for The Bachelor and The Bachelorette.
Oh,
Get into
okay.
that.
Okay. All right.
take what we can get.
Yeah.
So going to school, we both went to Reno. I went there for a year and then I transferred back to UAA. But did you go to Reno for the extent of your undergrad, and what were you majoring in?
Yeah, I did. I stayed there for undergrad and graduate. I got a bachelor's in geography, which was because the planning department was within geography, so that was kind of the only option there. And then I followed through and got my master's in land use planning. So it was kind of all in that same department. I started off in business, just like I don't know, 80% of college kids do, and eventually found my calling. So no, it was good.
That's awesome, man. So you're calling and planning, how does that all work? How did you know that that's what you needed to be going into? Was it just something that you picked up real quickly and were really interested in it, or what was that like?
Well, actually, I mean, I took geography, whatever 101 or 103 is just kind of a core class. I loved the professor, loved the subject, and I started taking some more of those as electives, and I was like, you know what, business just doesn't do it for me, doesn't excite me. So kind of I switched majors at that time, went into geography, and found out about this whole planning thing, which interested me even more. And yeah, I don't know, it was just kind of by chance, but um, I think something that I've always had that I've liked is I could stare at maps for hours. So I mean that was kind of a natural shift for me. But um, the planning thing might have been a little bit specialized or focused compared to the whole map stuff. But like it's funny that I never actually played it, but Sim City is like where you can actually design a city, and that always seemed cool to me. So I mean, I kind of fell into that, struggled to find an actual, I guess you'd call it like a career out of school, and uh, still bartended through all of that. Took me 3.5 years after graduating with my master's. That was during the downturn in the economy, back in '08 ish. And I think that might have had some role in it, but finally got my shot with the Department of Transportation, Nevada Department of Transportation, and yeah, that was in transit, which I hadn't really done up to that point. But transit is definitely a key piece to city planning and transportation planning. So, um, it was in my realm, in my ballpark, I guess. So, took that and ran with it, and here I am, and still loving it.
Man, that's really cool. It's cool to hear that your patience paid off. And, you hear a lot about how guys, guys, gals, whoever, go to school, then they get the job right away. But you also hear about some other people who have to wait around and wait for their shot. What was going through your mind during those 3 years? I'm sure that wasn't easy on you to know, like, hey, am I doing the right thing? Am I going down the right path? I kind of had those doubts too when I was graduating from school and trying to go into journalism. It was the same kind of thing. It was tough to find a job right out of school. But for you, 3.5 years, man, how are you able to overcome that mentally and financially?
Yeah, that was, oh man, you ain't lying about that. That was a rough patch for sure. That was the brokest we've ever been, and really, it kind of put my whole life on hold, which is unfortunate because I was trying to do the old-fashioned proper thing and establish a nice financial foundation for my girlfriend at the time before I was going to start taking those next steps of you know engaged, married, house, kids, all those type of things. And finally she kind of gave me an ultimatum and was like, do it, shit or get off the pot. So so it was like, okay, well, I don't know, that might have been the good luck or the good karma that put things in motion for me, because after I proposed, it was less than a month before we actually were due to get married when I got the call that I got the job, my first like career job. And we that was life changing. I mean, we had one foot out the door to Hawaii. At the time, in the apartment complex we were living in, we had some neighbors who were from Hawaii. He was going to set me up with a bartending job there. We had actually gotten our shots to go. Yeah, I guess you have to have special shots and stuff for your dog. So, I mean, we were like all jazzed about going to Hawaii, even though our life wasn't really progressing. But it all it all happened. I guess it all happened for a reason. And it was, if I could tell myself, if I could go back in time and tell college me, I would say it sounds totally like old man style, but I would say, and pay attention. Don't take shortcuts because you're only cheating yourself. You're only gonna, delay your own career, delay your own life by doing that. So I would definitely be more diligent and more dedicated if I could go back and go through school again. So um, any youngsters out there listening, be sure you're doing your work and doing it well. So
Man, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. Being more engaged and being more um, intentional about what you're doing when you're younger is tough. It's tough for all of
yeah,
us. And I've talked about this on the podcast a few times. Like when you're in that moment, you're not thinking 5, 10 years down the road. You're thinking a month from now, 2 months from now, where am I going to get my next drink? Where am I going to get my next piece of pizza type of thing? But now
yeah,
as we kind of get older and we grow and we get married and we have that time to reflect, it's like, man, yeah, I wasted a lot of time just kind of messing around. And
yeah,
it's good
yeah.
that we're kind of getting our stuff in order now.
We made it though, right? We made it out the back end. So
Yeah,
somehow,
exactly. Exactly. I think, you got to put some stock in yourself too. You have to be able to, like 3.5 years, you were struggling, but you kept holding the faith and knew that you were going to get something. And I think once you put it out into the universe, like, well, hey, I'm going to Hawaii. And the universe was like, nope, no, you're not. You're staying here. This is where you need to be. So talk me through a little bit about the transportation gig. What does that entail? Are you designing roundabouts? Are you designing traffic flows? What is your some of your duties over there?
yeah. So Actually, I will say before we completely transition, I'll say my first boss at that career job, she had a sticker on her desk that said, we make plans and God laughs." So it's just totally fitting. I like just like you were saying, we thought we were going to Hawaii. No, you're going this way instead. So, um, but anyway, yeah. So right now I'm the transit program manager at the Nevada Department of Transportation, and basically what we do, what our department does, it's not exciting. We basically we're the pass-through entity for federal funds. So the Federal Transit Administration, they apportion funding for um, rural transit providers, and we take that money and we award it out to all these little mom and pop transit providers. They're basically all the senior centers in all the small towns throughout the state, and there's a lot of strings that come attached to federal, and so basically we're there to be the mom or the dad of the money. It's like, hey, no, you can't do that. You can't do that. You got to do this regulation over here. You got to follow that. So I mean, we're removed from the actual, boots on the ground work. Um, but I did have, so I'm back at the Department of Transportation. That was the first job that I got that broke that 3.5 year drought for me. Did a year there as a trainee. Went to the city, Carson City, to actually be the transit coordinator for a transit operator, an actual city public bus system. And so that was like, on the ground type work. So I really enjoyed that, and it was actually putting together the routes and the schedules and interacting with the people. But it's still a good gig because really all these little operators throughout the state, they couldn't do it without this money. And so really without us, they would have no other way to provide this essential service. I mean, what they're doing out there is totally needed. The trips that they're providing are to people who have no other option. And especially in the rural areas, when you start to age in place and you're out there living on a plot of land by yourself, and all of a sudden you can't do some of the things that you're used to doing, you need that resource, you need that lifeline. So that's kind of what we do. We keep those resources flowing, even though it's the unglamorous part of the job. It's totally necessary. Um, so, that's kind of how I look at it. And I know at one point you were looking at going into the like the nonprofit sector and doing that kind of not exactly that kind of work, but kind of human services type stuff. So um, it's fulfilling, it's rewarding. I like the work, I like the job, so it's good.
It sounds like it's one of those jobs where you can totally just leave it at work. Is that a fair
Yeah,
statement? Like you're
yeah,
at work from 8 to 5, then you're home with your family, and you can kind of not have to worry about it. Is that true?
yeah. That's a definite plus of the job, and you start to appreciate that piece of it more and more as you get older as well, because the pay is not great. The state doesn't pay well, so um, they are really flexible, and it is that type of job where you're not home, you can't sleep at night. You got all these things that you're gonna hear your phone ping for an email in the middle of the night, or that you have to respond to, or something like that. So um, it's definitely kind of a lower stress job, and definitely, like I said, rewarding.
So, what are some of the things that you guys have been doing during the last few months when everything's been crazy? Have you been able to get out of the house a little bit and kind of get some fresh air, or have you guys been locked down? What's it been like for you guys?
Well, we actually started the lockdown a month or two ahead of everyone else because our son was born in January, and obviously uh, I mean, you may not know this yet, but when you have kids that are, fresh out of the womb, newborn, and they don't have their vaccines yet, you got to keep them away from all the germs and stuff. So we were basically on lockdown already, just trying to stay out of the public to keep him, away from all those germs. But um, you know, we have been able to get out. it was funny because you started to see a lot of the hiking trails get really packed, like almost like an event in the middle of the town, like a farmer's market or something. You go out there to escape the people, and they're just packed because everyone else had the same idea. But um, no, we've found ways for sure to make it work and to keep distance, but keep from going, getting cabin fever or whatever. So it's been good.
That's good, man. That's good. And are you guys kind of going back to the start right now in Reno? Like, I know a lot of other places are trying to get back into lockdown mode a little bit. Is that still going on over there, or how are you guys
Yeah,
doing?
yeah, we're kind of not under the full lockdown that we were back in whatever April. Um, but yeah, it's the governor's orders are to keep that strict distancing again. So we had loosened up there over the summer for a little while, but now we're kind of he's tightening the screws again. So um, which is okay. I mean, we would probably be indoors for the most part through winter anyway. Um, it's a little too cold for some of our some of our clan. Not me personally, but maybe some of the others. So uh, yeah.
So, with all that, are you working from home, or are you having to go into the office?
Yeah, I've been telecommuting this whole time since
Wow,
middle of March.
that's
So,
awesome.
I mean, that's been another great thing. Having obviously a newborn, uh, I I get to just pop off the computer for 5 minutes here and there anytime I want to just hold them and feed them or play with them for a minute and give mom a break. So it's actually been, I don't know, a blessing in disguise for us. The whole COVID thing, because obviously without that I wouldn't have been telecommuting. And now the state is talking about doing some sort of permanent part-time telecommute. So
Oh,
they've realized that people can still get their work done telecommuting, and so they're willing to allow you to, even once things get back to normal, they're willing to allow everybody to, take a couple days and still telecommute. So that'll be a really nice feature too.
dang, yeah, that's cool. Um, so let me ask you this: after having one child, is having the second child, does that get easier, or is there a whole new breadth of challenges with having two in the house?
Well, it's a little bit of both, actually. I'll say that I don't know if you've seen or noticed those Love's diaper commercials, but it says first child, and I don't know, one of them is the lady's interviewing babysitters, and the girl's got like a Harvard education, and she's like, oh, I don't know, and the next time it's like some punk rock teenager, and she's like running out the door like, oh, the emergency number's on the fridge, and she's just like scooting out the door. So I mean, first child, second child is, yeah, it's totally different. You kind of just they'll be fine. You kind of get like that a little bit. You're not so uptight about every little thing. But um you know I say that the first child is a life changer. The second child is a game changer. You're playing man to man now. So you don't have the tap out. You don't have the tag team going up against one kid that okay, your turn. Okay, now it's I'll take a rest. You take the kid for a little bit. Now it's everybody's doing something all the time. So yeah, there's no time to come up for air.
All hands on deck.
All hands on deck all the time. Yeah.
Well, it keeps you young, right? It keeps you on your toes, so you're ready for all the surprises.
I don't know. I don't know if I would say that. I think it keeps me old. I've started to get gray hair since the second child. So yeah, I don't know.
Man, I would take that in a heartbeat. I've been going gray since high school.
Oh really? Oh man. Okay. Well,
You
I thought
just,
I was gonna be non-gray forever. So I guess it had to happen sometime.
I can't even tell. So you got that going for you.
Yeah, it's there. My wife, the hairstylist, tells me
Oh,
it's there.
nice. So when you were paying your dues and right after you graduated from high school, or sorry, from college, and what were some of the things that you found once you kind of went through the progression of Graham the bachelor to Graham the boyfriend to Graham the husband. Let's start with those. Were there things in your life that kind of got flipped upside down because of those changes, and how did you adapt to all that?
Oh, for sure. I had to be trained for sure. Uh, I was definitely not husband material. Um, you know, I had to learn to think about someone else, instead of just thinking of what was most convenient for me or whatever. So yeah, I had to get put in a different mindset for sure. And I think that marriage certainly forces you to grow up pretty quickly, and I like that. And having the kids will do the same thing. So it's kind of like I don't know, the rungs on the ladder or something. You're making these progressions, and I like the changes actually. I know a lot of people tend to look at what they're losing. Going from a bachelor to married man, you tend to look at some of these things of, well, I can't just go out and get drunk every night and go out with friends whenever I want and go chase girls or whatever everybody else is doing. Um, you gotta stop and think and, okay, let's work this out, let's coordinate, let's figure out what we're doing, and then even when you're married, going that next step, you can't just pick up and go, oh, hey, you want to go to Vegas for the weekend? Let's go. Let's have a trip. It's not like that anymore. You can't. It's the kids. You got 10 suitcases for anywhere you want to go. Did you pack every single thing that you can possibly think of? The pack and play, the feeding table, the butt paste, everything but the kitchen sink. So, some of your freedoms kind of restrict a little bit as you go and go. I think that's kind of how people tend to look at it. Um, but again, you're growing your life, you're growing yourself, you're growing your heart really. So, that's the side that people tend not to see until they're in it, and that was true for me too. It was, I wasn't even sure I wanted to have kids, period. And once you're in it, you just wouldn't trade it for the world. So, um, you know, yeah, it's definitely a growing up phase. So,
Yeah, it definitely makes you really rethink things. And even today, um, just, going through things, going through my thoughts, it's like, oh, yeah, well, I can't just sit around and watch football all day because my wife is going to have some words for me about that. I need to help around the house, get ready for Christmas, whatever that is, making sure that the rooms are clean, making sure that we are crossing things off of our list. Um, it's definitely different because same thing with you. My wife gives me crap all the time about fantasy football until I tell her, hey, there's money in this. It's kind of like an investment. So the more I watch, the better I'm going to be. So I'm trying to
yeah.
pick that pick that angle with her. But
Yeah. Speaking of which, do we need to start increasing the dues so that it's more worth their while to hear? Like, oh, I could win $1,000 instead of 100.
hey,
Do we need to?
maybe we should. Maybe that'll help grow our pot a little bit too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, when you find that person that you really care about, making those sacrifices gets a little bit easier every single time because
Sure.
what's going to be the outcome of that. And I think you're right. That is something that people kind of lose sight of sometimes. Like, oh, I can't just go out and meet my buddies every night for drinks, and I can't just go to Vegas like you were saying on a weekend. But instead of doing that, you get to spend time with your best friend, and in your case, you get to spend time with your best friend and your two kids. So that's something
Yeah.
that you can never replace.
Right. And it's hard. It's hard sometimes to not take those things for granted because this is your new life, and so you just feel like, well, it'll just be there. It'll just always be there waiting for me. So why wouldn't I just go out and do my own thing from time to time? So, which it's important to do. It's important to have your refresh time or buddy time or whatever. So, um, but yeah, it's definitely important to keep that in mind of, hey, this is what I want. You gotta remember that you're here for a reason. You chose this, you wanted this, and just enjoy it. I mean, um, like I said, it's hard sometimes when those kids are screaming, or they're up late waking everybody up, or whatever the case may be. It can be tough, but you just always got to bring yourself back down and remember why you're there in the first place.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. So, what are some of the things that maybe as somebody who's thinking about having kids or thinking about getting married, um, what are some of the challenges that you have overcome, or maybe some of the lessons that you've learned going from husband to father? Um, Something in there that some words of advice or something that you'd be able to share for someone else.
It's tough. I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot of lessons to be learned the hard way, and some of them you gotta, it's like going from a teenager to a not, semi-adult. People can tell you it until they're blue in the face, but until you actually experience it for yourself, it doesn't hit you. So, um, you know, I think I think really one one of the most important things to keep in mind is that it's a partnership uh, in both respects. With your wife or your partner, and then your kids too. I mean, you're in it together. You gotta come together. I mean, there's certain things you can't compromise on. For example, if you want to have a kid or not have a kid, you can't have half a kid. So, it's a partnership. You got to make sure that you're in it together, and sometimes you're not going to win all the battles, but you got to make sure you can deal with it. Deal with not getting your way all the time. And again, I think you come out better in the back end when all is said and done. I mean, you don't have to win them all to be victorious. So, yeah, I would just say that it's a partnership. So make sure that you're both on the same page and you're together.
I totally agree with that. I like the part where you said that you don't have to win every battle. I kind of look at it like a baseball batting average, right? You hit the ball you get a hit 3 times out of 10. You're doing pretty good. Um, so I kind of look at it from that angle, and I feel like Sarah and I are really good at not keeping score, because if we did keep score, she would be whooping my ass by so many, and I would just get upset. So you kind of, that's one of the things that's always stuck out to me is don't keep score. You know,
Yeah, that's a good bit of advice too. I think for me it's probably easier said than done because I have this innate ability to not care a lot of times.
mm-hmm.
So something bad happens, or I get bad news, or something doesn't go my way. It's easy for me to just, it's out of my brain. I mean, it just, and it's gone, and I don't worry about it. I don't dwell on it. I don't get mad about it. I don't hold a grudge about it. And I think it's really helped me a lot in getting through some of the tougher times. You're always going to go through certain disagreements or certain rough patches or whatever. And I think it's just helped me to keep carrying on. And I told my wife actually over this whole pandemic, she was telling me that she was getting stressed out and she needed to run to kind of cleanse her mind and feel normal again and not panic about what's going to happen tomorrow. And I told her, like, I've heard a lot of people having that issue, and I think I've learned that I'm a robot because I don't need any of those stress relief type things. I'm just I'm not worried about it. I'm just like, whatever, it is what it is. I'll deal with it. Whatever happens tomorrow, I'll deal with that too. And uh, I don't know. I used to worry a lot, and somehow I don't know. It came over me. I just don't worry anymore, and it's easy. It's been easy for me. It's been helpful to get through some of this stuff. So um, I don't know. I try to think of it as now I'm consciously making that decision instead of just it's just happening to me by some unknown force. And so I try to think of it as choose happiness. You choose happiness. Something happens, that isn't 100% what you would have chosen, and you can choose to get pissed off about it and pout and be mad and yell, or you can just choose to go on with your day and get over it and just do whatever it is that makes you happy. Continue to do whatever it is in your life that makes you happy. And that's what I'm trying to do now. I'm trying to I think I've been a little a little short on my fuse a lot lately. Just having two kids always screaming or crying, or one's running or putting themselves in danger, trying to drop an anvil on their head or something. You tend to just snap off sometimes, and so I've had to pull myself back and make a conscious decision to, okay, bad stuff is going to happen. They're kids. That's how they learn. It's going to happen, and so I'm just going to be calm with them. Take a breath or whatever it takes, and just it's okay. It's all right. We're all here. We're good. So, yeah, I'm really trying to, like I said, make that conscious effort to choose happiness. Go this way. Go the happy way instead of the negative way. Even if it's something that you're gonna dwell on, or it's gonna take you some time to get over mentally. Sometimes just saying the positive words out loud is helps get you there. Instead of saying, "Oh, son of a f this and f that," and just saying, well, that sucks, but it's okay. We'll move on. Sometimes even just saying the words kind of helps you get over that hump. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. The being intentional about choosing happiness and finding the bright side of things. And nothing is ever as bad as it seems that it could be.
Right.
We sometimes we get that image built up in our head of all of the bad things that are going to happen. And if a situation doesn't go our way, like you were saying, we get this image of our mind, but then it happens and it's totally fine. And you're like, I just spent all this time worrying for that. Like, there's that saying, expect the worst, but hope for the best. There's still that level that you can be prepared for something to happen, but if you dwell on it, you're putting that out to the universe, and that's probably what's going to happen. It's probably not going to go your way if you have those negative thoughts and feelings towards it. But
Yeah.
if you take the Graham approach and be more, if you choose the happiness path, that's where things get better. And I think it's all about the energy, right? It's all about the energy that you want to put towards your things. And if you put your energy towards things that are negative or are just that you can't change, now you're wasting your energy instead of focusing your energy on your kids or your wife. Some of those different things, I think that can make a huge impact too.
Yeah, and I tend to be more logic based, and so I think one of the things that got me over the whole worrying thing, like I said, I used to worry a lot, was simply by me sitting here worrying, how does that improve my situation? You know, okay, yeah, potentially I could identify some solutions, which is productive, but just flat out worrying about it, like, oh, the sky is falling, that doesn't fix whatever bad thing there is. You have to go out and take action, or you have to just let it happen and deal with it when it comes. Sitting there worrying about it doesn't really, it's unproductive, and it doesn't help the situation at all. So, I think that's been part of what's allowed me to get over the whole worrying phase. So I don't worry too much anymore. It still happens, but not too much.
Was that just you said that you didn't know exactly when that changed. Was it kind of a gradual shift then from everything that you've been through? Those 3.5 years probably had something to do with it, where you were probably getting tired of wasting all your negative energy about, oh, I don't have my job, I'm not in my career now. And just in that timeline, being able to shift your focus into something more positive, that's probably when those positive things started to happen.
Yeah, I don't know. I've tried to pinpoint it before, because I remember worrying a lot in high school, for example. But sometime in college or at the end of college, it kind of went away, and I don't know when it was. You're probably right. It was probably the 3.5 years of trying to wait for a job. Like eventually I just had to be like, oh, the hell with it. If it happens, it happens. If not, we're going to Hawaii. So
And that's when things happen. Like that's when you put so much pressure on yourself, that's when things don't work. But when you just kind of let it flow and let it be, that's when things actually start happening. And it's this really weird thing, because you would think that focusing your energy on something would make it come to life. But when you put your hands back and kind of forget about it, you know, you hear about all these stories about single men and women who try so desperately to find a partner, and then they stop looking, and that's when they meet somebody, and that's when they meet their partner for life. And that just blows my mind, because it's the complete opposite of what we were just talking about.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I think you're onto it. Is you want it so bad, you got to just let it go and say,
Yeah, exactly. Choose happiness. If you're happy with yourself, you will find a partner who is just as happy with you too.
There you go. Boom.
Look at that.
Logan, we just solved the world's problems. Okay.
Man.
That's the one session, I guess.
That's pretty good. And I'm not even having any whiskey right now. How did that happen?
You said you're going the Graham route again. Never have.
Was that just, you just didn't have a desire to do it because you saw the stupid things your friends were doing?
Yeah, I was the one out of the million kids that the DARE program worked on. You know, I was scared, and I was worrying about all the bad things that might happen to me if I did drugs or drank or smoked or whatever. So, you know, that was what did it for me as a kid. But you know, into high school or adulthood, I don't know. I just never really had that desire. And in college, it was almost like a cool thing. Like, oh my god, wow, he's never had a drink. Yeah, I don't know. I think it was a combination of a lot of things. I don't think it was any one thing that did it. It was probably like 15 little things that when you combine them, that was kind of like, oh, I don't need to, you know.
Yeah, if it's not going to improve your situation, if you're not going to get anything out of it, yeah, man, like by all means, I applaud you for that. That takes some fortitude to be able to go through college, especially at UNR, which is a huge party school.
It's tough because, especially like you say, at a party school like UNR, you know, whenever anybody hears that, first that becomes their mission for the night. When they hear that, oh, you're having a drink tonight. You're going to have your first drink with me, because I'm different and more special than everybody else that you've ever met in your life, because they haven't tried. So yeah, it did take a little fortitude, but you know, I don't know. I sometimes it felt like I was only resisting to resist. It's not any one reason. I've had people say, "What are you, Mormon? What are you, Quaker? Oh, you're super religious. What's the matter with you?" And no, I'm not religious at all, really. I don't know what it is. Again, I can't explain it, but yeah.
Like I said, I applaud you for that. I think that's really cool. And not the drinking part. Like the drinking part is, you know, that's a choice that you made, but I'm more proud of the way that you've stuck to it and not let somebody peer pressure you, and not just say, oh yeah, well, I'm going to have a shot tonight just to try it. Like, you've already made that decision in your life. You know, it's not going to improve your life or your situation. So you're sticking to it. And that's really rare these days, I feel like.
Yeah. And again, like I said, I mean, that became part of it, you know, I was resisting to resist, but also because it was like a unique thing about me. I've never probably had unique things about me my whole life. So it's, oh, cool. Maybe I'll stick with it, you know, because once you do one shot or one sip, that's all gone. You can't ever say, I've never had a drink before. And so, I don't know. That was probably part of it.
I'm sure your body appreciates that too.
Well, I mean, it didn't help me in school. I'm still not that smart, so it didn't really help. I mean, imagine how dumb I would be if I had. So, actually, Sean,
yeah.
His saying for me eventually became, and he ain't even drunk, because I would do stupid shit at a weekend college party, house party, and I was the only one doing stupid shit, and I was the only one not drinking. And so he eventually just started saying, and he ain't even drunk. So it kind of became my thing.
That's awesome.
I don't need alcohol to be stupid. I'm already stupid.
I kept talking with my wife about the drinks that I had this weekend. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I killed a good amount of brain cells this weekend. And I was pretty pathetic yesterday. And I think about that. I'm like, what, what was that about?
Yeah, I
But
can't afford that, Logan. So that's another of my 15 reasons why I can't do it. I can't afford it.
it does get expensive. I will say that it does get
But I
expensive.
can't afford that or the brain cells too.
True. True.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey man, we've been talking for a while. We've covered a lot of ground. Is there anything else that we should talk about tonight, or should we save some content for the next one?
Yeah, let's save some content for the next one, man. We got to keep this rolling. So yeah, let's save something.
That's a deal. That's a deal. Graham, thanks for being on, man. Spend some time with me. We talked about things that we have literally never talked about in our 14 years of friendship, which is awesome. Like that's
It's
what this
awesome,
is
but
for.
also a shame. Yeah.
Yes. Also a shame.
I appreciate this opportunity, Logan, and on air or off air, we should definitely do this more often.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I'll take you up on that. Well, hey, take care. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, sounds good.